Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Ramadan with the Sahaba, Year of Mustafa. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu from me the other day. I for one am learning a great deal about some of these Sahabas, some of whom I haven't even heard of before. I hope you too can see the beauty from some of their stories and can enact some of their lessons into your everyday life. Today we will embark on another incredible journey, one of which we won't have time for in one video. This is a story about someone who was blessed to be from the last of the three Muhajirs, a Sahaba who converted to Islam by a king, and the great military leader who would end up liberating and conquering Egypt. His name, as some of you may have guessed, is Amr bin al-As radiallahu anhu. He was truly a fascinating individual. But his early years didn't start off on the high road, as we'll soon discover. To understand the story of Amr bin al-As a bit better, we have to understand what kind of family he grew up in. You see, Amr's father was one of the greatest enemies of Islam. He was the chief of a Quraysh tribe, and there were 5 to 6 verses in the Quran just about him. One of these verses is in Surah Al-Kawthar, that is about how he made fun of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ when his own son died. And another one of these verses addressed the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and tells him that Allah will take care of those who mock you. So Allah is pretty much giving comfort to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, telling him that don't worry about your enemy, Allah will take care of it. You can see here that Amr's dad was a huge opponent to the Muslims. I'm telling you all of this so you can see what kind of house Amr bin al-As grew up in. Not a pleasant one by all standards. So naturally, Amr grew up in the beginning of his life, like his father in Quraysh, wanting to hunt the Muslims. One of the things that Amr did to try and capture the Muslims happened in Abyssinia, which is known nowadays as the country of Ethiopia in Africa. Now let me remind everyone about the migration of the Muslims to Abyssinia, just to set the scenes about what had unfolded. After the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ received the first revelation in the cave of Hira of Iqra by the angel Jibreel ﷺ, he started to invite the people of Makkah to Islam, first secretly and then openly. When this happened, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his companions started being targeted by the Quraysh and tortured and even died at their hands. Others were even blinded. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ needed to do something about all that was happening and told some of his people to go to a different land called Abyssinia. There was a very just and kind Christian king over there by the name of Najashi, who had helped the Muslims escape from the terrible pain that Quraysh were putting on them in Makkah. So now our main man Amr comes into our story. After all of this happened, and some of the Muslims were finally safe in Abyssinia under King Najashi, Amr was sent by the Quraysh to try get the Muslims back. Quraysh wanted them in their own hands. Trouble is stirring. One of the reasons why they chose Amr to try and speak to King Najashi is that he had already traveled to Abyssinia because of his previous trade, and he knew the people and the land pretty well. He was also talented of speaking to leaders and politics and could manipulate the situation well so that he was the winner. Now, just look at the cunning plan to try and capture the Muslims who lived there. When Amr arrived in Abyssinia, he spoke to the ministers or the leaders under Najashi. He told them how the Quraysh wanted the Muslims there because they were bad people, and he even bribed their leaders with expensive gifts to try trick them into giving them what he wanted. And then when it came to Amr's turn to speak to Najashi, he again told the king to expel the Muslims from Abyssinia and give them to the Quraysh because he claimed that they were criminals, and gave Najashi the most expensive gift to try and trick him. Oh boy, it doesn't look too well for the Muslims at this point. But thankfully, Najashi was a very just and wise king. So he called the Muslims so he could hear their side of their story. After the Muslims did that, Najashi's heart was moved and he took the Muslim side. Amr then gets annoyed. Damn it, he thinks. I need to pull another trick to try and get the Muslims in Quraysh's hands. So then Amr had a cunning thought. He then tried to buy the heart of Najashi and got his beliefs involved. Oh, Najashi, he said, you didn't ask the Muslims what they think about Jesus ﷺ, did you? Oh dear, look what Amr is stirring now. Of course, Muslims and Christians have very different beliefs about Jesus ﷺ. We think he was a prophet of God. So, Najashi goes back to the Muslims, who are now starting to feel very terrified at this point. Oh no, how will King Najashi react when he hears our views on Jesus ﷺ? But the Muslims agreed they were going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, no matter how terrified they were feeling. They weren't going to lie, even though they might have been kicked out of Abyssinia by the Christian king. After hearing the Muslims' view on Jesus, Najashi understood this to be the true teaching of Jesus ﷺ. He told Amr to get out and return the gifts to him, and even told him that if he had tried to harm the Muslims, or if anyone tried to harm the Muslims, they would be in jail. Whew, what a save. After returning to Makkah, Amr still tried to attack the Muslims along with the Quraysh. He fought in the battles of Badr, Uhud, Al-Khandaq, but on the wrong side, the side of the Kafirs against the Muslims. It got so bad after the battle of Uhud, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was frustrated. So he raised his hands in dua to Allah against some of the enemies, which included Amr, so that Allah could punish them. But while he was pleading with Allah, he was told that although the enemies have done evil, the matter wasn't for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to decide. It is only Allah who decides who he punishes and who he forgives. Wow, how deep. After the defeat of the Quraysh in the Battle of Khandaq, Amr had a change of heart. Amr had finally understood that there's no point in fighting against the Muslims. In fact, he was the first in Quraysh to figure this out, which just goes to show how intelligent he was when it came to leadership and politics. He had a change of heart and felt like he was on the wrong side, so he needed to get out of Makkah and run away. He felt that the Muslims were going to outpower Quraysh soon, and he certainly didn't want to be there when he did. So when Amr came back from the Battle of Khandaq, he went to a group of his friends and told them that they should leave Makkah and flee to Abyssinia with them, because he believed that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ will conquer Makkah after all, and that while all of this is happening, they'll be living in peace in Abyssinia under King Najashi. So Amr travels to Abyssinia, but the story isn't done and dusted here. There was a Sahaba there that Omar saw that he didn't like. He had a past encounter with him. So when he was finally at Abyssinia, Amr goes up to the King Najashi and requests to fight the Sahaba. Najashi gets really furious that Amr asked for his permission to harm another Muslim, because at this point Najashi was secretly a Muslim. Najashi tells Amr that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ will beat all of his enemies and have victory over them. Najashi then tells Amr, if I were you, I would accept the Prophet's message. Amr was shocked. What? What did you just say? Are you even a Muslim? And then Najashi confesses, he is. On that note, Amr had a change of heart. He finds the message to be the truth and he wants to convert to Islam. This was incredible. Amr had converted to Islam at the hands of a king and not directly from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. An outsider all the way in Africa was telling him about the magnificence of the message, which knocked some sense into him. So now, Amr secretly went back to Medina and wanted to meet the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to convert. But on the road there, he met Khalid ibn Walid and Uthman ibn Talha. Each of them asked each other, what on earth are you guys doing? After all, they're all non-Muslims. So, all of them shared their plans with one another that they were going to Medina and convert to Islam. These three people who were on the road to Medina, Amr bin al-As, Khalid ibn Walid, and Uthman ibn Talha, had a special blessing. They were the last of the Muhajirun, so after they arrived in Medina, there's no more hijrah. Amr is a Muhajir, and so has the great reward of being one, which we'll find out about in a moment. Okay, so Amr arrived in Medina and takes the Shahada with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there was a tiny hiccup, because Amr tells the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he has a condition before embracing Islam. What on earth do you think that could have been? What was holding him back? What could have possibly been on his mind at this point? Well, he wanted Allah to forgive him for all his past sins. You see, Amr was so worried that he tried to capture the Muslims in Abyssinia, and he had blood on his hands from all the battles he fought against the Muslims. What do you think the Prophet's answer was? The Prophet told Amr that converting to Islam wipes away all past sins. In fact, there are three things that wipes away all sins. Firstly, converting to Islam. Secondly, the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And thirdly, the Hajj, the fifth pillar of Islam. That's incredible. It just goes to show how anyone who genuinely converts to Islam will have a clean slate. Allahu Akbar. Okay, so now that Amr's on a clean record as a new Muslim, we're going to see what happens to him in his new stage of his life. He seems set on greatness. Do you guys know what happens during his life as a Muslim? Who's clever enough to remember what I said at the very start? That's all what we have time for today though, so make sure to come back tomorrow for the rest of the story. Bye bye and thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.